Hey guys, UC here from iTradePrice. Let us start going through some of the weekly charts and names that we follow. So you're looking at QQQ. Just for fun, let's start off with a monthly view, right? So previously, what we had seen, monthly bars giving a bottom wick from this area, so the price has gotten up, right? Bounced from there. So we are getting back in that zone. That doesn't mean it's going to do it the third time as well. It just means that this was a good chance for the price to make a move higher based on these two monthly bars, but it couldn't do that. So it means it's just still weak. The market is weak. And there's a weekly chart right here. We did gap down. We tried to get back up and then couldn't do it. And we closed towards the lower end of this week. So it looks bearish, I would say, right? It's not an indication of a strong market. And even in the daily view right here, you can see if I zoom out a little bit, it just gives you a little pattern of this bearish flag, right? Here's your pole, and this is sort of your bearish flag pattern right here. And this last daily bar is pretty bearish, right? Because it opened up towards the high end of the week. We had a 4-day week, and then it closed bang towards the low end, right? 338. We are in puts. We did get in puts towards the later half of Thursday in 330p, right? Just sort of a lotto play, but it does look weak right there. If you go in, let's say, a 4-hourly view, right? If I zoom out a little bit, it does give you that flavor, right? If it needs to get back up, this is the time that it needs to trap the short sellers and see some sort of a nice big bounce, where short sellers cover. But if it does not, it just looks weak, where this pattern will sort of play out towards the downside. Okay, we'll see what happens, but again, we'll just trade the chart. The moves to the upside don't see any follow through, right? We are in a 4-hourly view, and these 4-hourly bars right here, usually if on a strong market, you would have seen a break above 348.5. In fact, that ended up being a resistance, and now we're back at 338, where we have multiple touch points here since the past week. So if it gives up that, right, it's not a good sign for the market. And then the real major support below that, if I zoom out, looks to be 334, and then followed by 328 becomes sort of the target if we really break down here. Okay, SPX, let's go into maybe a weekly view first, right? Little better than QQQ, but in fact definitely still bearish, right? 43.90. I think maybe daily view would give a better view. We have this cluster. Actually, if I take a little bit of broader view, right, what you see is this sort of what people are hoping that it would play out is this right shoulder. So if we need to see a right shoulder, this is it. It should not break down below this thing. If it does, a close would matter. Close below this would be definitely more bearish. But the left shoulder, if you kind of look at the level, it's kind of still can come here and do that, right? You never know, and then that's fine. But it's just given the structure, right? This was the area that it broke out from, right? We had a resistance here, it had a resistance here, and then when it broke out of that, this downtrend line, we had a nice rally towards 46.32, which is right here. And now we're back at that breakout zone, that breakout level. So if it breaks down further, maybe a 30-minute view can give you a little bit of better view, which is actually like this right there. So this is the channel on the downside, right? If we need to get back up and strong, price really has to get back above this down channel and then break out above this 44.70-ish sort of a level. Okay, Amazon, let's get a maybe a weekly view first as well. So not a big follow through to the recent upside. We do have earnings coming up maybe here next week, maybe, or something like that. So we did break down here, right? We did touch this trend line multiple times, but no upside follow through above that at all. Top wicks right here. So previous week was bearish, and then this last week was just sort of a little doji-ish, right? Not much upside strength, but closed still below the low of its previous week. So a play could be, depending on how price moves, where it goes, stuff like that. If it touches this area right here on 2870, which would be a back test of this downtrend line right here, and then we can see if it bounces from there. That could be a sort of a swing entry, you know, and then keeping this as a stop loss, something like that. But right now, this was your chance, right? This was the, this was market's chance on Wednesday to show some upside momentum, right? Based on this bullish bar, which was pretty strong. It opened up weak, pretty weak below these 2 days support, and it closed above these two, right? So it was a good weekly bar, daily bar, bullish engulfing, whatever. It did not see any follow through to the upside, in fact, right? And we kind of closed below the 50% of this previous bullish day as well. So it just looks weak, right? So not really excited about that right now until we can get back above 3120 here, 3122. But if I bring the levels here just to kind of give you a little flavor of what it can look like in the lower time frame, it looks yeah, I mean, this is sort of the area that if this is sort of the channel that if it's kind of has to get back up, 3075 would be the first initial resistance to look for. If it can back above that, sure, we can target 3121, which is the recent high right here. But if it breaks down, then definitely 2992 or lower even can be in the books, right? Something like that. Apple, daily or weekly view, similar to other charts, right? Closed week below its previous week's low as well, but it is at that back test of this downtrend line that it broke out of a couple of weeks ago, right? So if I go into daily view right here, yes, daily view is showing a big bearish engulfing bar, but it closed right at the back test of trend line right here like that. So I mean, this could be a scenario right here like that, or if we get into, let's say, a 30-minute view, something like this, we can see if this level does not hold, right, then 163 to like 162 is your channel support where you can see a bounce from if you're interested in playing a bounce. But right now the market has been sell the strength, so you can see all these 30-minute bars, right? There is no upside follow through to any bullish bar, so that's just weakness, right? And it closed towards the low end of its week and the back test, so giving up that means further weakness. Let's look at Tesla. Weekly chart did see, again, it broke down from this 1026 1029 level. That was sort of the resistance that was support the week prior to that, and then now it's exactly our resistance, right? But in the lower time frame, if you see, let's say, like a 4-hourly view, it does give you a little bit of flavor of a bearish flag. Of course, the way we have been playing out is kind of shorting on the upper side of this flag. That's again makes more sense from the risk and reward perspective. It needs to break out. You only lose this much, versus if you take that breakout trade, it can just go back up, and this is all your risk, because the chart can still remain weak and just fall down like that. But just it's, when you're playing a breakout put play, the prices are inflated. It can work out or cannot, but that's how it is, right? From the structure point of view, in the 4-hourly view, we have these 4-hourly bullish bars with absolute no follow through to the upside, and it is giving that flavor there that it wants to break down below 973, right? That would be an indication that it's going further weak, and then no really big support until 908. That said, we have earnings coming up next week, so that can just kind of totally change the picture of how market takes the earnings, right? So we'll see what happens. But in the lower time frame, that's exactly how it's playing out, right? Sideways to bearish moves been giving you the profits much sooner. Okay, all right, let's take a look at a few more. Microsoft, similar story, week chart, weekly view right here, right? If I kind of show you a little bit of view that sort of I have been getting some clues to trade the QQQ because Microsoft and Apple weigh pretty much heavily on these on the index. So this was the level, right? It broke out above, right? This was the touch point. This was the touch point right here, and then it broke out above that. It couldn't really get back above or even go all the way to back test this broken uptrend line, right? And then now we have these two big bars, two bearish trend bars, right, which closed pretty much towards the low end of its recent structure, right? Of course, earnings can give it a little bit of twist, but from price action perspective, it remains weak, and similar to, you know, Amazon and Microsoft, things like that, Tesla even, right, where you have these three big bearish bars, right, with this middle of the week bullish bar, which absolutely saw no follow through. And if you look at the volume as well on these things, mostly, right, this was the volume bar, right, this was the bullish volume right there, and then that bullish volume did not see any upside follow through. In fact, the market participants saw this as an opportunity to get out and just sell it further, right, because you have this more sell volume right here. You can see the sell volume has been more, right? Similarly in Tesla as well, if you like to see, it's been dominated recently right here by more sell volume, and in fact the price actually kind of supports that thesis. Okay, Square again, more sellers, and the price structure in fact remains bearish as well. The weekly view, the only thing that I can make a bullish case is that as long as it upholds this uptrend line, mini uptrend line, that can be a play where it makes this higher low and then gets back up. But at first we have to see some bullish bars in a lower time frame, and then this bearish flag not playing out further to the downside, right? That's what we traded this past week, where we were shorting it here, right here, and then it just wants to go down. Let's see if it does that or not. But it was a good short side trade on the sell, right? So if it needs to get down, this is the time it needs to break down towards this uptrend line. If it needs to get back up, it first needs to get back above 128, and then 131 is the big test for this name. Okay, Nvidia, weekly view, right at the back test of its broken downtrend line right here. Previously we have seen bounces in the weekly bar whenever the price trades here, and this time around it's not showing that. So that could be an indication that it is weak and it wants to go down further. But if it wants to turn around, this next week will be the time, right? Because it's back testing it, and usually that's where buyers or bottom fishers come in and they try to, you know, kind of swing it back up. If this is the time, it needs to happen next week. If it does not, then that means no upside pressure, you know, just the way it had showed previously when it traded around this zone, which you can see by these bottom wicks, right? So now bottom wick here in this past week. In a daily view, similar story, still holding that back test line, right? So like I said, if it needs to turn up, it has to happen fairly quickly. Otherwise, if we risk losing this thing, then this uptrend line becomes the target. Like 195, 196 can be the downside target, because it will be a bearish breakout, as this support will give up. People who have been long from this support right here, they'll just throw in the towel, because that's where, you know, a lot of stop losses would be sitting in for these guys. The volume right now still shows more sellers in the market for this name as well. Google, again holding, you know, this mini trend line, sort of a weak trend line. If it needs to get back up, this is the time, because that's where it has gotten back above from previously. But looks like, you know, we have two big bearish days, weeks, you know, consecutive weeks, almost no overlap, gap down. So that just shows the intensity of the sellers in the market right there, right? That's not a sign of bullish market or even a reversal right now, to be honest with you, because in a reversal you usually see some bottom wicks. You usually see, a little bit of green days. You see some, some bounces, things like that. But that structure is not there right now. So earnings coming up, that can change or not, but fundamental story still remains sell the strength, right? All right, let's take a look at a couple of more. Netflix, not a huge fan of that, but we'll just review it for people to see if they want to trade this name. Again, no bullishness in the name as well. I mean, if you're just buying because it is at low price, that's a different theory, right? That's a different mindset. But for a price action trader, for short-term day trading, the mojo remains sell the strength, top wicks, no upside follow through to any bullish week, closing week below its previous week's low as well. This is the level 331 to watch, as that we have one bounce from there. To feel really bullish on a higher time frame, we need to get back above 400. That's just a psychological number, because that's where we see all these top wicks from, right? Shop as well, a little boring to trade in the past few weeks. It's just not giving that nice range it used to, but earnings toward the end of this month, early next month, looks like. We'll see what happens, but right now, again, maybe it's a better view on a daily, I think. Yeah, so 645 can be the trigger on the upside if you want to trade, looking for, because we have a couple of touch points right there. On the low side, we have a little bit of gap fill there, but if it gives up 567, then I think we can kind of just test this support around 500 level, right? Just could be sort of like this or like that, but 500 is the level to look for, to consider on the downside breakout. Okay. All right, so this was it for this week. We have been mostly playing the short side of the market, staying with the trend. Whatever the price action dictates, we're going to trade that. So there's no reason to be a hero or try to pick up the bottom. That's not how usually you can trade consistently on the profitable side if you're not with the trend, right? So right now it just remains weak, and until or unless, again, this is Tesla, a lot of you like to trade Tesla as well. So this was sort of the support level. Now it has been acting as resistance. So now we know that once it's above 1026, 1029 level, right, this can pop back up, right? Who knows what happens, but yeah, I mean, if it breaks down, 973 is the level to look for on the downside breakdown. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Hope you guys like this little video for this week. If you have any questions, please reach out to me or Annie, and we'll be happy to talk. Thank you guys, and have a good rest of your weekend.